Hey, it's the worst build I made. All of my weapons are plus 12. I think we're at round level 60. Everything is split up. I have right around 40 vigor. Close to it, but not exactly. I think I've got like 16 dex, maybe it's 15 dex. We're wearing Millicent's prosthesis. That gives us plus 5 dex, so that brings us up to 20. And it also allows us to do extra damage on, like, double hits. Which we're using the Arumi. The R2 can hit twice. Very nice. I've heard people say, and people that I would trust on this, for example, Mr. I Won't Forget, has said that you can get counter hits on the heavy charged attack with the Arumi. So the Spear Talisman would work on here. I opted instead to use the Axe Talisman to just increase the damage, completely. However, if you wanted to, I guess you could use Arumi with Spear Talisman and Axe Talisman, and some sort of, damage goes up as long as you keep attacking. Any of those things, or you could stack those up too. Jesus, who knows? So, I'm just telling you what I did. Millicent's prosthesis, Axe Talisman, and then we have the Canvas Flock Talisman, the best one, the one that increases miracles. And I cannot remember off the top of my head what my last talisman is, but maybe I'll remember as I do the commentary here. It takes me a minute. Brain's not working. I'm trying. Anywho, this is a weird sort of experience. This build is not very good, as I pointed out. It's not. If you're looking to win invasions, don't use this. If you're looking to win invasions in the coolest, most stylish way, here you go, have at it. So we've got the Arumi, obviously. Then in the second slot of the right hand, I have a Rapier. It's fire infused. The Arumi is lightning infused. Then we've got the Scavenger Sword in the left hand, but I'll switch that out and I'll use the Astok in the left hand. That is cold, both of them. Cold Scavenger Sword or cold Astok, either one. And lightning Arumi and fire Rapier. Alright, crazy, right? We've also got the Spark Aromatic Perfume that does a lot of damage. Oh, that's the other talisman slot, the Perfumer's Talisman. I'm using Discus of Light, Radigan's Rings of Light, Wrath of Gold, and the 3 Discuses. I don't know, I forget what that one's called. But we're using all of those. And I was totally under the impression that, making this kind of build was going to take, insane stats or whatever. Now, if you wanted to do, the big damage, you would need more stats, right? I think I have 21 int and 21 faith, or maybe it's 22 and 22, but they're somewhere around there. Then my Wondrous Physic gives me plus 10 int and plus 10 faith for 3 minutes. That allows me to cast all of the bigger spells, the spells that require more. And, in all honesty, my Radigan's Rings of Light does, 600, 700 damage. Wrath of Gold does 500, 600 damage. This is plenty of damage. The spells don't need as much as I had thought that they would. Discus of Light is actually pretty decent in terms of just something you can chuck at people. You set it and forget it, It's actually not that bad. I thought it was going to be, Way of White Corona round 2. It's actually better than that. And it does decent damage. It does no hit stun at all, but that can help you. That can sort of be tricky, and it's very nice. People gripe a lot about passive poise. Not people. Some people do. They gripe a little bit, and other people, they gripe a lot about passive poise. I kind of like passive poise. This sort of hybrid that we have here in Elden Ring. Another thing that people gripe about is the forward momentum on attacks. It seems to be non-existent. There are definitely instances where I think that should be improved. Axes, hammers, flails. Those should have more forward momentum than they do. But the idea of, limiting forward momentum and passive poise really makes heavy attack, or R2 as I always call it, it really makes that more interesting. It gives it more to do. I don't know if you guys watched the videos with the Carrion Knight, but the Carrion Knight sword, I was using heavy attacks. I was using R2s all day because they break poise, even against people who, you know, are kind of poised up. Just a single one-handed R2 was enough to break their poise a lot of the time. And the Arumi, that heavy attack, you combine that with the fact that these attacks, your opponent swings, they don't have a lot of forward momentum. If they swing again and you press heavy attack, they're still not going to hit you, and now your heavy attack hits, and it does, you know, the extra poise damage. So the Arumi has like this really long attack on its heavy attack, which is really nice, and it hits twice if you're like within range for it to do so, which is very nice. I've switched over to the Taker's cameo here. It's like top tier talisman for invaders. I'll make an entire video just around how good Taker's cameo is, but it's so good. We're also using the moon bow, the moon crossbow. Not for any real reason, just how many builds are you ever going to make that are actually going to get a chance to try it. So, you know, here you go. All the music that you're hearing is either from Castlevania Symphony of the Night or Castlevania Dracula X, or Rondo of Blood. And, yeah, so we're using a whip. That's Castlevania. That's like the thing, you know. The offhand weapon is just to give us sort of that, like, you know, very aggressive playstyle that goes with, like, being like, you know, when you say, like, Vampire Hunter, I immediately start thinking, you know, Bloodborne Hunter, very aggressive. So the Estoc or the Scavenger Sword, either one, allows us to be really aggressive. I've got parry on both, on the Scavenger Sword and on the Estoc, and the parry on either one of those is awful. It's so bad. It is so hard to hit a parry with either one of those. You'd be better off doing something else, but I'm not worried about being better off. As long as the wins look cool, that's all that matters. But yeah, really fun build. Really, really fun, but not good. Not good. It's not terrible. One thing I miss from Dark Souls 3 with the whip was that the two-handed heavy attack with the whip in Dark Souls 3 was like this long overhead attack that it had a ton of range, and two-handed heavy attack with whips in this game are not good. It's just not good. And it really does sort of like lend itself to being used one-handed so that you can put another weapon there, you know? Whether it be a curved sword or an Estoc, either one is fine. Or you could do a straight sword too. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but those work well for me. The whip is one of those things where people, a lot of times, they try to roll in on it like it's a spear. And if somebody tries to roll in on you, you know, if you have a curved sword, you can immediately punish that, which is very nice. In that way, I would go with the curved sword over the Estoc. If you're doing one-on-one and you've got that offhand Estoc, like, that's, I think, the better option. But if you're fighting multiple people, that offhand curved sword is so practical, just in terms of, like, you know, something you can hit people with and they have to, like, stop chasing you. Even if it's just one of them has to stop chasing you, like, that's good. The bare fist backstab there, because I'm an idiot and I unequipped my rapier so that I wouldn't be fat rolling when I equipped that crossbow earlier, and I forgot to re-equip my rapier. But yeah, it's like I said, the spells can, like, really, especially with that flock talisman, boosting them up, you know. And we're using the Golden Order talisman to cast with, which is probably not, it might be the best for this build, considering all of the Golden Order incantations we cast, but it also might not be the best. I'm not sure. Yeah, it works. Like, the spells do good enough damage that, you know, you can catch people off guard, you can take them by surprise, and you can win with this build. But it's not exactly. It's like I said. I won't even sugarcoat it. It's literally the worst build I've made. But it's fun and it's cool, so I like it. The perfumes, adding the perfumes to it. I've mentioned this in some little videos I've made on this build. The perfumes served the purpose of being a sort of like turn and burn strategy, because I didn't have a curved sword at the time, and I didn't have any way to like make people get off of me if they were chasing me. And the perfumes served that role brilliantly, especially like at low level. Those perfumes did insane damage, and it's not. I don't think the damage drops off really. It's just that, you know, people have less hit points when you're playing. You know, like I was 30 in Stormveil, and I was using the perfumes, and it would like one-shot people. The perfumes were insane. They're still good. But one thing that this build is kind of lacking is poise damage. It doesn't, like, if you fight somebody who's like really poised up, like, it's hard to convince them to, you know, like, give you a minute so that you can, you know, initiate aggression. Once you start being aggressive with the build, it's just on someone to make you stop and to outplay you, which is really, you know, depending on how often you play the game, you know, it can be difficult to make a player like me stop swinging my weapon at you if I know it's going to hit you, and I know there's, you know, it's going to hit you before you can do something to me. I'm just going to keep swinging, right, until my stamina runs out. But if someone's got poise, and they're able to just, you know, take those hits 2 at a time, that changes it up. You know, that really makes the fight entirely different. But not completely unwinnable, thanks to the good heavy attack on the Arumi, and just honestly the general bad play of the people that I fight. You know, like when you make a YouTube channel and you do like Souls PvP, one of the things people love to comment, they're like, everyone you're fighting is a new player, and, you know, if you fought real opponents, they'd beat you. And it's like, yes, they would. You have nailed down exactly what is happening, and it rules. You know, like, you're basically telling me, like, you're playing the game as intended. Yup. I certainly am, and I'm having a wonderful time. You should try it. But yeah, like, this dude is all poised up, you know. So like, this dude can, like, the perfume you see there, like, it does the damage, but it doesn't do any poise damage. Now, if he only had 600 hit points, he'd be thinking about, you know, maybe this isn't, you know, I should stop chasing this guy for a second. But, you know, he doesn't have 600 hit points anymore. Now he's got however many he's got. So that perfume is just kind of whatever to him. The cold infused curve sword is very nice for big damage, and it still has bleed on it, just the bleed is much worse. But you can see I'm like, okay, I cannot poise break this dude with this one-handed curve sword. So I have to start like playing differently, thinking differently. Thankfully, he tried to block the fully charged heavy attack on the Arumi after his just absolute onslaught of R1s, and he got guard broken for it, which is a surprise to me, but I'll take it. I think I kind of interrupted myself. There's an example of a bad parry on a curved sword. But I kind of interrupted myself. I was talking about the perfumes. One of the, you know, the turn and burn, hey, get off of me of the perfume was its usefulness. That's why we took it. But, you know, making a Castlevania style build, you know, when you play Castlevania, especially the old ones, Symphony of the Night, not so much. Saint, Symphony of the Night is 30 years old or whatever. They're all old at this point. You're right. All right, shut up. When you play the original Castlevanias, a lot of, you know, the way you beat bosses, the way you do damage in those games is using consumable items. So using poison throwing knives, using perfume, stuff like that, it really fits into the idea of the build. This build uses so much stuff, which is probably one of the reasons it's not as good as it could be. If I decided to like go all in on the perfume or go all in on the casting, that would, you know, I would be better for it. But instead what we've done is we've settled on half of both, and it's, you know, we suffer for it. But the suffering is worth it because it's still a fun build. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Later, y'all.